Hello and welcome to the D3 podcast. This is your host, Matt, joined as always by Sam and John and a missing Kevin. How's it going, boys?
Doing good. Hi, my name's Kevin. I'm all right too.
Can we do that for the rest of the show?
Yeah.
Hey, what's your opinion on Paul George? Oh, I think he's a really great player. Really likes the ball out. Kevin, you sound like the cookie
Mickey
from
Mouse.
Shrek. Jesus Christ.
Ginger.
Gingerbread man. I can't get enough of that. Okay. Let's get into the show. So, first update, Jamal Murray got a bit of a boo-boo. He's out for the entire season. Very unfortunate, especially because now we're going to miss playoff Jamal Murray, who is fantastic. I guess the biggest question for this one is, kind of seems like their title run might be done. Might be like officially done. What are our thoughts on that?
I think it's going to be obviously troublesome. I mean, they don't really have much of a point guard besides my boy, Marcus Howard, who's finally getting minutes now. I think it's a real shame because they were down by like over 20 points and they did a D Rose moment there. Right? It was literally a D Rose moment.
Yikes.
Where Tom Thibodeau's like, the opposite. We're winning this game by a lot, but we're going to keep playing them. This one, they're down by at least 20-something to the Warriors. In a game they don't really need, Jamal Murray did have, left knee soreness. He did tear from his right knee, but left knee soreness. So it's been clear that he's been pretty tired. So it was a pretty bad idea. Mike Malone might be on the chopping block soon if they don't get past the first round, go to a Game 7 series again. So truly disappointing overall, though.
It's really funny, Sam. Whenever you say my boy, it's typically always followed with a player that I have never heard of. I will be so honest with you on that one. No idea who that guy is. Absolutely none. But hey, okay, cool. John, how are we feeling about Nuggets playoff run?
I'm pretty sad, I'll be honest. I really like this Nuggets team and like Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. As much as like we can rip on Jamal Murray, especially earlier in the year, I think he's really like found a great rhythm for himself, and the chemistry he has with Jokic is so exciting to watch, especially in the playoffs. So I feel like we're really getting deprived of something great, and I feel really bad for Jamal Murray because I don't know. It's just like he was playing really well, and he just like now he's got a long road to recovery in front of him. Probably gonna miss time at least at the beginning of next year too, and I would be very surprised if the Nuggets could make a deep playoff run this year. But you never know with playoff Jokic. But I think that it would be really tough. It would take a big like playoff leap from like Michael Porter. Aaron Gordon would have to be like truly so like locked down. He'd have to be like Western Conference Ben Simmons like on defense for them to really move. So it's a bummer. But that gives Jokic more time to put up some crazy numbers. Bolster that MVP campaign. So there's I guess at least that. But yeah, it's definitely sad.
Kevin, what do you think about it? Aaron Gordon's going to be the next MVP. Hey, man, good for you. That's a very, very bold move, but hey, I'm all for it.
Well, that's actually, and so that's another problem is just that like this was a really kind of important year for them because they have a lot of contracts coming up, including Aaron Gordon soon. They're going to have to be paying a lot of guys. So this year was kind of like the year for them to make that run with all the weirdness in the West and in the East, frankly, too, for if they did get to the finals. So now they're going to have to do a little bit of cap math. And Denver's not a huge market team. They're not historically prone to spending a ton of money and getting into luxury tax. So we'll see what that looks like for them. But, yeah, big bummer.
It is a bummer, especially because now we're looking at the Utah Jazz. Donovan Mitchell got injured. Hopefully. Yeah. Was it a bad? I think it was a lot better than we thought.
It was just a sprained ankle. But
thank God.
Yeah, so he'll be out a few games, but
could have been much worse.
It was ugly.
Yeah, that did not look great. Honestly, it did not look good. looked almost as bad as those statement jerseys that the Utah Jazz has. The green and yellow, I can't stand it. Sorry. Yeah, I know. Bold take right there, isn't it? Next one, Sam, the beloved LaMarcus Aldridge decided to retire after being diagnosed with an irregular heartbeat. How are we feeling about his career?
I'm definitely a tough guy to find in the West. I mean, the Portland Trailblazers were always the 6th seed basically at that point, and when they finally make the playoffs, LaMarcus Aldridge has never really been to playoffs that much until he came to the Spurs. But probably one of the last like true like post players that we had seen. I'd probably even say Blake Griffin at that point, but we know how his career turned. And everyone went to Brooklyn at that point, but real shame. I think as soon as he left the Spurs, we saw that like he was happy again because the way his role was, it was like kind of perfect for this team. I think everyone gets in line when they go onto like a real championship run team. And it's a real shame that he has to go up this way. Reminds me just like a Chris Bosh kind of factor here. But I guess the question would be like, is this guy really going to be a Hall of Famer? I'm not really sure. I mean, he's got the stats to put him up there, but I don't really see him, being like an Allen Iverson in this sense in terms of like, in a way, he was just another really good big guy. I couldn't really see him being very defining besides for the Portland franchise. But what do you guys think about that?
I'm not really huge. I mean, like, I didn't really watch a lot of LaMarcus Aldridge, I'll admit. So I can't really have a good say in it. But from what I've seen from him and a somewhat of a solid portion of his career, I can't really imagine him being a Hall of Famer, but I could very well be wrong. John?
I mean, this is the Lord of the left block, man. He's going to be, I think that LaMarcus, he's a 7-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA, I believe. I think he's like one of 20 people with like 19,000 points and 9,000 rebounds. I bet he'll end up in the Hall of Fame at some point. Probably like I would be shocked if he was like on the first try. But I think he'll end up in there because he did have a good career, and they kind of they'll let almost anyone in the Hall of Fame. So I think LaMarcus has a decent chance. But you're right. I don't think he's like a particularly era-defining player. In fact, I think he's kind of an anomaly in his era because, like you said, Sam, like there's really not many people who played like him especially in the latter half of his career, who were also able to like be successful NBA players and able to like actually get minutes and stay on the floor, because a lot of guys with his kind of game were just getting run off the floor. But he stood steady, stayed right on that left block his whole career, and something about it just like it just worked for him. So it's a shame. It's always scary when a big guy has a heart problem. That stuff's just always scary. So I'm glad that he's taking his health into his own hands, doing what's best for him. He can definitely retire. Like, he never won a ring, but he can retire knowing like he had a good career. He was a good player.
Sure, absolutely. Moving on, the NBA may postpone some games based on the George Floyd case verdict. That's going to be kind of interesting. I was actually pretty surprised to read that. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised about it. Hopefully, nothing crazy happens. But we live in a world where craziness is around every single corner. So who knows what's going to happen? But fingers crossed. Yeah. Steph Curry. Apparently, he's a god at basketball. Who would have thought, right? He's so good. Big resurgence from him. Big question is, guys, MVP? Like, does he deserve like MVP votes and stuff like that? What are we feeling about Steph Curry this season, Sam?
This reminds me of like a LeBron Cavs team where it's like it's literally all on you. So it's just like throw up as many shots as you can. I believe they say he's averaging in like the past 5 games like 13 3-pointers a game, which is kind of nuts. Which is actually kind of low, obviously for Steph Curry. But I think since April 1st, the lowest points he scored was 33 points in the game, or 32 points in the game, which is nuts. Okay, that's just like ridiculous. And I think he's like a few percentage points away from another 50, 40, 90. Like that's pretty crazy for
Jesus.
in a way, a guy that we kind of wrote off after the whole title run, snag, and then just with the injuries, it was just like, okay, Warriors are gone, but they have Curry. Maybe he can do something, and he is doing something. I mean, I don't know if you guys watched the Celtics game yesterday, but that reminded me of old, like that's an OG Steph Curry, like just fun times. I know we were just talking about the shot off camera about, I think, I don't know if it was Tatum guarding him, but he just called like literally a hook shot at the 3-point line and got an and one, and I was like, that's just ridiculous. That's just carnival games at this point. But I think this guy, I can't put him MVP, just where the team is standing, and he's literally doing everything. It almost reminds me of like Russell Westbrook in that case, but that's definitely an anomaly moving forward. So I think he deserves some votes. I probably wouldn't give him like the top tier vote, of course, but I think he could be top 5 right now. I think I could see that being top 5.
Oh yeah, top 5 sounds good.
He should definitely be top 5 in the MVP voting. I don't think, like you said, Sam, I would not have him as my winner for the MVP, and that's just unfortunately because his team is really, really bad, and even though he's having this insane run, Warriors are still managing to lose some of those games, and it's just like, I mean, there's nothing more that Steph Curry can do. He's scoring like crazy, and he's doing it pretty efficiently. And like, I don't know if this stat was thrown around on Twitter a bunch, but it was that like in the history of the NBA, the second most Klay Thompson has the second most games where he's made 10 threes in a game with 5, and Steph Curry has 20 of those in his career. So that's a 15-game lead on second place. And the one after Klay is 3. And Steph had 3 of those games in the past week. So it's just like, obviously, greatest shooter of all time, who's still like playing out of his absolute mind. He's now in contention for the scoring title this year. I believe he's 0.1 points away from Bradley Beal now.
Wow.
So he could at least sneak away with that if the Warriors. He won't get MVP votes above being in the top 5 because I don't know if the Warriors are even gonna stay in the. I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs at this point. They're just so. They're really bad. they really suck. And it's a shame, but Steph's been amazing, and it's still like. Probably the most fun player to watch in basketball when he's having nights like he's been having.
Yeah, 100%. In other news of things that really don't matter in the NBA, the Celtics signed Jabari Parker. Not really sure what the point is for that. Can somebody help me out here, John? Can you help me? Why would the Celtics do this? Why?
Yeah, I have a feeling they're like, let's just sign him. He'd probably cost us $30. We'll give him 5 minutes off the bench, see if he can move laterally anymore, and then if not, they'll probably cut him. Like Jabari's mega washed. It's a damn shame. He was, he had a lot of potential. Obviously, he was a big time high school recruit. Everyone was very excited for him coming out of college, and he just never put it together, and then he got injured, and now he's on the Celtics. So, pour one out for my guy Jabari Parker. Feel bad for him. Sad career. Now he's with a sad team who's been better lately. But you know what? Maybe he's honestly there to finally like take Tatum's spot. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to run him out of town.
Gross, that's disgusting. Dude, DWade bought some of the Utah Jazz. I was pretty surprised to hear that, man. That was very interesting. Of all the teams, he decides to choose the Utah Jazz. I mean, obviously this is really fucking cool. But how are we feeling about, like, I guess the Jazz moving forward? How does this impact the Utah Jazz, Sam?
Not really sure what his role would be. I mean, there obviously is some sort of weight to like his name and like just being a face value, but I just find it weird that he didn't like. I don't know if there was a situation with the Miami Heat, but like I'm surprised he just jumped into that ship
That's what I thought.
to having
Well,
like any relations with that. I know the owner was like pretty disappointed that I'm not sure if they had talks or not, but it sounded like they must have been in some discussions.
the
And
owner of the Miami Heat, Mickey Harrison, said that they did offer DWade some stake in the team. My guess is that Utah gave him more than Miami was willing to offer at whatever price point DWade was able to get in on, because it really is weird, honestly, that he's like a part owner of the Utah Jazz. It feels very strange, but my guess is that they were willing to give up more than the owners of the Heat were willing to give up of the franchise. It's weird. Great. It's great news for if you're Donovan Mitchell. It's great news if you're Donovan Mitchell, because like that's exactly like Donovan Mitchell should be basically just like modeling. Now he can model his game right off the man himself, DWade Wade. He can, get a little bit closer to turning himself into DWade Wade with an actual jump shot. So there's like definitely some positives there, but it's like it just feels kind of wrong. Like it doesn't feel right that he's in the ownership group with the Utah Jazz. It just like feels really random and just like I frankly don't get it. I'm sure it's a good business opportunity, but like it's weird.
Yeah, of all teams, it just doesn't really make much sense for him to choose the Utah Jazz. It's very bizarre.
Yeah.
But now that we're looking at the Utah Jazz, how do we see them moving forward right now? So obviously Donovan Mitchell, he has the ankle sprain. So as far as this year goes, do we still see them remaining in the leaderboard as far as the playoffs go? Are they going to take a bit of a dip? Like what are we looking at right now moving forward for the Utah Jazz? Sam.
It's kind of weird. I feel like in the West, like the top two teams seem like the ones I feel a little bit more shaky on in terms of like being like the dominant teams. And I know it's more disrespect and shade to the Utah Jazz, but I'm okay with that because Utah Jazz fans, you kind of suck for the most part. Just a little something there. I guess we're all just waiting for the Lakers to fall to the 8th seed so they can go 4-0 against the Jazz. I think that's what we're all waiting for at this point. But the team is very cohesive. Like I said, they've been running it back year after year after year. They add one piece, and I think they did find something click. Once again, it might have been just the coronavirus that having your best, maybe second best person have it. Being the tying factor in all of this might have been the game changing. Maybe it's a symptom is that you just get better at basketball in a lot of cases. And I mean, it just didn't work for your Boston Celtics, man. It's just like they just went the opposite. It's just ridiculous. But I will say that the Utah Jazz will finish second in the West. I think the Donovan Mitchell thing, they'll probably drop a couple of games, but I'm getting some weird resurgence with the Clippers. I'm getting some more confidence with them, even though I'm very adamant, and Kevin is, with the Los Angeles Clippers. So we'll have to see. But it's so weird. Like the East is top two teams are like ridiculously strong, and then this one it's like they're really really good, but I feel like we're not giving them enough respect. Maybe that's the case, or it's just we don't see these guys on top like at all, and so I don't know. I just feel kind of weird there.
Go ahead, John.
No, I agree. Maybe, frankly, like the Jazz could finish with the 1 seed still. Wouldn't be surprised if they drop down to 2 because the Suns are very close. I think they're a game and a half back.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I frankly do not care either way. As good as these teams have been, I just struggle to think that when it comes time for the playoffs, I'm just a lot more afraid of Kawhi Leonard. I'm a lot more afraid of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Like I know that Donovan Mitchell has had some good playoff games. We've never seen anyone but Chris Paul from the Suns like in the playoffs at all. So I'm with Sam. whatever happens with those teams, I'm like, good for you guys, but I will believe it when I see it. I will be probably predicting starting in the second round. I'm sure I'll be predicting the Suns and the Jazz to be losing for like the rest of their playoff runs. So I just don't believe in them even a little bit. So
yeah. I can't imagine. I cannot imagine the Utah Jazz really getting far, which really sucks because I had them winning.
I see. Okay.
See, Matt, you gotta just like hold strong to that take, because if you're right, you're gonna be the only one of us that's right.
Yeah. You're right. Go Utah Jazz. Fuck everybody else. I love you, Jazz fans. I don't. But whatever. I actually hate you guys, but sorry. Moving on, we have the Lakers to skip the DC trip to the White House. Are we all fucking surprised? I'm not. It's whatever.
I just think that I think what happened was they said it was like a scheduling thing. And I'm sort of like, yeah, I don't really care. I'm sure that they're just like, we're so tired. They're probably like, I just want to sleep, like, and rest. And so then I could play one of my 8 basketball games in 12 days or whatever the fuck everyone's doing right now. Schedule's ridiculous. So I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm not going to take an extra stop. My body is decomposing. Like, I can't blame them at all. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure, frankly, there's a good chance that the Lakers will have a chance to do it next year. Yeah. So I think it's like a non-issue. And man, just like, gotta say, this schedule is fucking crazy. I think Fred VanVleet was like, he was saying, yeah, look, like, basketball right now, it's just not fun. He was like, it's not fun. It's very business at the moment. You can really feel it. And granted, his team sucks, so I bet it wouldn't feel that fun. But also, like, it's a lot of games. They agreed to it, but now they're in it, and it's probably awful. So it's really weird right now.
Just a small little variation. Do we see any kind of change with the amount of games that are going to be played in the future because of this? Sam, or how are we seeing this?
I think especially after the Jamal Murray injury, and just like a lot of young guys, like the worst thing is a lot of young guys are getting injured, and that's going to be very detrimental, like moving forward. I think as a fan, I think it's for like a lot of people is that I think the last 20 games of an 82 game season are like pretty irrelevant, because at some point, like I'd probably say the top 3 in each conference are pretty locked, and we're seeing it right now too. Like the East is locked, like top 3 teams will be those top 3 teams. And the remaining games don't really matter. I know there was a lot of like issues with the Mavericks having like the play-in discussion. They're like, I don't want to be a part of this. And it's like, I totally get that. I mean, I think their point was a little stretched. They're like, oh, we just wanted to rest during that point. And I was like, sure, I'm pretty sure everyone wants to rest, but just be a better team at that point. Like, you know, but I do see this point. It's like, at some points, like, how much do you value the last 2 spots? Because realistically, they're probably going to be knockout spots at the end, because we assume the top 2 teams will be like the ones you see in the Western Conference Final or Eastern Conference Finals. I'm personally for a shorter season, because the 2 seasons we somehow combined like over this year and a half is like kind of overwhelming, and I'm just a fan. Like I'm not even going to deal with any of the like backlash that has to go with it. If this was another bubble, the players would be mad. They've gone mad. Like, they'd be crazy at this point. But I'm totally for a shortened season. Then with some sort of like tournament like modification, if you wanted to have that as like make some cash back for the ownership stake. But yeah, I want less games. This is too much now.
I would also love to see less games, but I do think that there's almost no way owners are going to give up the 82 games they're going to get next year after all the money that they've been losing on like just attendance at games. So they're going to want that 82. They're going to want every single one of those home game checks coming in next year. And I just hope that the players, I think right now they want to start the season in October, I think.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. I'm just like,
Why? Like, why bother? It's just like when you're starting the season in October, it's just like,
Well, I guess I think they just need to like. Everyone just needs a break. I think. I really think that everyone in the NBA could use like a legitimately like good, solid, like few months off to just fully heal from basically like so much consecutive basketball that they've been playing with very little breaks. Like, and frankly, like all the young guys could use a legit off season to like get better and all that shit. So I don't know. It's definitely weird, and I'm definitely like, I agree. It's a lot of basketball, like, and it's cool, but it's also like, whoa, like there's a lot going on, and it's a lot to keep track of. And so I'm like, I bet these guys are having it even tougher right now. I'm sure that there's a lot of teams that are just waiting for the year to be over, especially towards the bottom of the standing.
Yeah, I think it was CJ McCollum in his podcast. He actually mentioned how insane it was to like even have back-to-back games and whatnot, like, and just like the stress that it takes on your body. And it's wild, man. It's wild. Moving forward, the Heat's soft. The Heat is a very soft team, apparently. Quote from Jimmy Butler calls out the Heat for being too soft. He wants more bully ball. This is like a little bit of a glimpse into what we have seen Jimmy Butler in the past. Very much so when he was on the Timberwolves, when he was just a ruthless motherfucker. Is this a good look for the leader of the team, John?
Yeah, Jimmy Butler. I am never going to doubt Jimmy Butler again. As long as I live, this man is, he deserves your respect. If he's calling you soft, it's because you're fucking Charmin out there. Like, you need to just take it in stride. Jimmy Butler speaks his mind. The Heat should be better than they are right now. I think they're like still a 7 seed. The Heat are a 7 seed. They're at 500, which is worse than the Knicks. So I think I get where Jimmy is coming from. I would probably be pissed too if I was in the finals last year, and now my team, that's pretty much essentially the same group, is a 7 seed. So I say go for it, Jimmy. I say bust out the reserves, put on your Rolex, dust the fucking starters in practice, show them what's up, and get ready for the playoffs. Because he's right. They have been struggling.
It's been rough, man. The Heat have not been good, and especially like for last year, for what we saw from them last year, this was really shitty. Come on. Moving forward, Brad Stevens rejected Indiana University's 7-year, $70 million offer to become a head coach. He probably should have taken that. Just saying. I'm pretty done with what the Celtics are doing right now. It really fucking sucks. And now I'm kind of starting to feel bad for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, even though they're going to be the face of that franchise for like years to come. So maybe things get better. I hope things get better over there. And then also that the NBA fines the Raptors and the Spurs 25 large ones for resting players for away games. Who cares? Why? Like, not about like the fining. Like, the fining is stupid. I really don't think that they should fine them for resting players, because like we were talking about, the bottom tier teams, they need fucking rest. And it's just like the Raptors, they aren't good. They're not going to do anything for the rest of the year. The Spurs are another. All right, Sam, calm down. I was gonna say the Spurs are another story, because they are sitting at 10. Maybe they can get into the 8th seed.
Oh, they will. Don't worry. We'll be there. I saw that. I saw those eyes.
Maybe they do. But I guess how are we feeling about this fine? Does it seem a little dirty? Does it seem a little unnecessary, Sam?
First off, NBA's a little salty because their 2nd seed Suns lost by 29 points to my Spurs without sitting star DeMar DeRozan, because we all want to go see DeMar DeRozan play, right? Like, yeah, that's like I go to see that game. I'd rather go see Chris Paul at that point than DeMar DeRozan. Just saying.
Yeah.
We said Patty Mills and Jakob Poeltl. Those are our three key stars. Emphasis on stars. And we got fined for that after we destroyed the Phoenix Suns. So I think it's just weird because there's just no fans. So it's like I don't really know what the viewership stake is. Like I don't even think that many people watch the games on TV, at least from that kind of local standpoint, unless you're just a diehard Spurs fan or a diehard like Phoenix Suns fan. And there's no Phoenix Suns fans. We hate them too, right, guys? I mean, this is like it's kind of just like a petty fine because it's like not even that much to be like detrimental compared to like 2013, 2014 when the Spurs like benched Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker, and then they're like, okay, $250,000 fine, and that was like that's ridiculous. But like I said, I just think we're in the last leg of it, especially with the teams that are probably not going to be making much noise coming into the playoffs or even make the playoffs. It's like, does it really matter? Like,
yeah.
If it was a close game or something, and there's no fans, there's really no like fans to be like very impactful in it. So I just think it's kind of doesn't make sense. I get it for national television, but this is on a local network. Like only I saw this game, so like, it's kind of ridiculous. At that point.
This seems a little nitpicky for like no reason, John.
Yeah, it's also such a small fine that it's like, what are you even trying to? They don't care. Like, what is $25,000 to these billion-dollar franchises? Like, they do not care. That is a splash in the bucket. Like, like it's silly. It's just like you're just gonna end. The teams are just gonna start saying stuff like, like he's got a back strain. He's got to sit out today. It's just gonna start. They're gonna just take it out of the Clippers playbook, go out of load management playbook, and say shit like that. Like, oh, his knee's a little hurt. He's got a sore knee. He's got to stay out. Like, they could just make up shit. It doesn't matter. Like, these guys are gonna get their they're gonna get their rest. They're gonna look out for themselves in the home stretch of this year that none of these guys probably still even want to be playing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and they're all like, so yeah. I mean, and I agree with Sam. Like, if there were fans, like if it was like a sold out arena, first off, should be. Second off, then I guess I could kind of get it because then you have people who paid a lot of money to come watch it. But I mean, I don't think that. First off, I can't even imagine a Raptors and Spurs national television. They would get like probably the worst ratings of any NBA basketball game of all time. Like no one is watching these teams right now. Nobody cares. Like they're not good. They're both crawling to the finish line. Pop is just keeping his seat warm for Becky for next year. Like they're fucking done. Yeah. They're all done. They're like, we do not give a shit. We're taking a break. Like, and more power to them. I hope they keep resting players. I hope they come up with outrageous excuses. Like this is such a non-issue to me. It's just such a like the league trying to be like we're gonna make you do this, but it's so half-hearted. No, $25,000 means nothing to these people.
Means absolutely nothing. Let's look at the game of the week that we had last week, boys. It was the Clippers and the Philadelphia 76ers. Very close game. Very close game. My God. 103. The Clippers lost by 3 points. Philadelphia 106-103. What the? Woo, baby. And I think it was last week that we said if the Sixers were going to win, it was going to be because of Embiid, which 36 points says yes. Says absolutely. 36 points and 14 rebounds. That's a hell of a game. Looking at the Clippers side, we have Paul George with the 37 points, 9 rebounds. Clearly sucks. Just player. What was that, Kevin? Can you say that again?
Horrible player.
Yeah, there it is. Why don't we give our just like a little 2 cents about the game? I'll go with you first, John.
Yeah, Paul George got his 29 shots up, did everything he could, turned the ball over 7 times. He was really just going for it. They didn't have Kawhi, so I don't know. It could have, like I picked the Clippers to win it. I picked Kawhi to be the difference maker, and at the end, I think he was. So, I don't know. I think it was a good game. Embiid he shot 18 free throws. It's fucking crazy. The man is dominant, and good for him to be able to come back from that injury scare and continue to put up crazy numbers and really be just a dominant guy in these games. I don't know. The Clippers. This could actually, like, if a lot of weird things happen in the playoffs, could actually be the finals matchup.
Right.
A lot of weird shit would have to happen.
Yeah.
But like this is actually an option now, and so it was interesting to see how they match up together. Granted, without Kawhi, so yeah, good game. Not a lot of like, I don't know like how much it really matters for either of these teams at this point, frankly. So
it doesn't, right? Because we did say that like the East was pretty much locked in for their top three seeds. So it's just like a good game, and it was very close. And I think it would have been a lot better if Kawhi was playing. But here we are. Sam, any highlights for this game that you wanna mention?
Highlights, more like lowlights.
Right.
I'm like it's not a fun game when you see like Furkan Korkmaz be like a top 3 scorer for like 76 or you see Patrick Patterson like balling out. It's like it's not like that interesting. It's kind of really disappointing game overall. But I think this game was just more of a resurgence just to show that hey, Joel Embiid, I'm back kind of moment. I never left. Just to indicate that he could be still an MVP, like could be the MVP by the end of the season, kind of tone that he was setting. Ben Simmons was doing Ben Simmons things, being the greatest defender to ever live at this point. Throwing some Rudy Gobert shade that other game, but overall, both teams, I think, are kind of figuring it out now. I think there was a lot of concern with the Clippers, finding that point guard role. It might be Rondo. I personally don't think Rondo will be like a championship or bust kind of situation, but I think it does move him up a step in terms of having someone that's mature enough to handle the pressure in the playoffs, which is something that Paul George couldn't handle for a lot of the cases. And, we haven't seen Patrick Beverley come back since doing surgery. So we'll have to see how that goes. But, I think this is a good idea for a potential finals matchup. I'd love to see this team go 7 games all healthy. Like, this would be really fun to watch overall. So I'd be excited, but I think this finals matchup would not happen. I think there's some caveats there.
Yeah, I agree. And I think real quick, too, Joel Embiid made as many free throws as the Clippers took that night.
Wow.
Okay, so, like, they need to clearly, like, right now they're in a season where I think they're the greatest three-point shooting team of all time this year. And now it's like, okay, well, now we need to get to the line, too, because that's how you're going to win playoff games. They shot 48% from 3 and lost the game. Like, so you either got to get to the line or take more threes. Like, it's just, I don't know. It was a weird one. But
it was a weird one. And direct quote, I don't think teams really know what to do when guarding him. This is Simmons, what he was saying of Embiid. I think he's clearly the MVP of the season. He's been so dominant. I don't know how to stop him. Yeah, that sounds about right. Joel Embiid, fucking fire. If he does get the MVP, that'd be pretty incredible, especially for the amount of time that he was out for. So that'd be pretty fucking awesome. But yeah, dude, this team's dominant. This team is absolutely dominant. And again, like John said, some crazy shit would happen for the Clippers and the 76ers to be the finals. For example, the Utah Jazz would somehow have to lose, which I just don't see happening. How could you? How could you? Number 1 seed? Like, come on. They're just so good. You have Rudy Gobert, best defensive player just get out of here. Get out of here with that nonsense.
I'm just saying, still better than Donovan Mitchell. I'm sorry, I gotta get it out there. To all the Utah Jazz fans that didn't understand what I was saying. First off, horrendous fans. Once again, you clearly have no logic or understanding of the game. I literally have no idea what you guys are doing because you're probably gonna lose in the first round again. There you go. The curse has been placed. The curse has been placed.
The curse has been placed. And as we have seen on this podcast, every single one of us just tends to curse at least one team at one point or another.
Jesus Christ.
In John's case, it's cursed players, so.
I curse the shit out of point guards left and right. I can't stop.
I think John and I equally cursed the Bulls somehow, which is very unfortunate.
I refuse to take the blame for that. They were cursed the moment Jerry Reinsdorf bought that team. It is fucking nightmare.
Let's move on before John's head explodes. We have a new game of the week. It's going to be Milwaukee against Philadelphia. This is on Thursday. This is going to be fucking great. Philadelphia is sitting at, I believe they are at the number 1 seed. Milwaukee is at the 3 seed, so this is going to be a great game. Milwaukee is back 4 games for being the 1 seed. So right now, I'd probably say I'll start first. I might as well. I'll probably say that Philadelphia is going to win. I have a little bit more of a, I know that's like, that just sounded like so like matter of a fact for me to say that, even though this is like, honestly, if Milwaukee won, would not be surprised either. These are 2 very dominant teams. I would personally like to see a little bit more from Giannis, which is a weird thing to say. Like I said, very weird thing to say. I think the one thing that's stopping him from being like the game changer that he should be, which we have seen this in the playoffs, like for the past couple of years. He's not clutch. I would like to see him shoot more deep balls and make them. I just throwing that in there. But I would really like to see him shoot more. I would really like to see him make more free throws and whatnot. As 76ers winning, I would probably say this is going to be like a battle of defense almost. Milwaukee's a very good defensive team, as well as Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is a fantastic defensive team defensive player. I'll have Philadelphia winning by 5. I think it's going to be a close one. And I think it's going to be under 240 points. And I think, obviously, the lead factor... I actually think the lead factor of this game is going to be Ben Simmons. If he's guarding Giannis, I really want to see how that works. I really want to see how well he can guard Giannis, honestly, because that's going to be fire. That would be very fun to watch. I'll go to you, John.
Well, I'm picking the Bucks.
Sure.
Just because you were so slanderously disrespectful to Giannis Antetokounmpo. The world saw it. Everyone saw it. And it's now written in stone. Your slanderous take. That is probably kind of true. But no, I'm taking the Bucks. And I think it'll come down to I think it'll be a close game because these are 2 teams. Milwaukee's offense is actually pretty fucking good. I think they actually might have probably one of the best offenses in the league right now. I think they're averaging like 119 points a game or something. Just nuts.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think they'll probably win the game, and then I think it'll be because of some Chris Middleton clutch time heroics. Because I really just try to say something that's not Giannis. So I think it'll be Chris Middleton coming in clutch for them towards the end of the game because he's probably their best non-Giannis scorer, and many people will insist a top 15 kind of level player for some reason. Not me. I won't insist that. So yeah, I got the Bucks.
Insisted that?
No, it's just like every fucking sports writer and like Bucks fans, and they're all like, he's got a 50-40-90 and shit, and I'm like, that is cool, but he's got a peanut head and he fucks up in the playoffs all the time. Fucking. But you know what? More power to him, and I'm gonna put my faith in him this Thursday night to deliver for this Bucks team when they need it the most. I got the Bucks winning 112 to 108.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that. Sam?
Yeah, we're going Team Bucks here. Clearly the most loyal Bucks fan ever. As I moved away from Milwaukee to search for better pastures. It's kind of hard to not discuss. It's like both teams have like these epic duos. They have Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons. We're probably the most like awkward duo because their games don't really complement directly. They're really like, very indirectly like help each other. Versus the Bucks, where it's the freak and then the other freak because of those teeth he's got. No, I'm just kidding. But for me, I think it's going to be interesting for the Bucks going into this playoffs. I think just not being a 1 seed, we're going to take away some of the weight and pressure. The only concerning part is that the 2 teams above them are going to be very scary to beat overall. And if I'm Milwaukee, I don't want to face the Miami Heat as a 6 or 7 seed. So it's just banking on either Miami keeps falling or they got to start moving up now. For me, I think Giannis is actually having a very fantastic year. I know he's not like going to get the MVP, but I think he is very top 3 caliber easily. I like we talked about it many times. I think the concern of his was under 2 minutes. What can he perform, or how effective can he be with the ball? Because his game style is very predictable. It's a very just like pass and go / drive it in. But he's very high turnover ratio. Under the 2 minutes. So that's when I think Chris Middleton will be the key factor in terms of carrying that. Hey, someone got a shot. Okay, it's going to go to Middleton every time. So for me, I think Bucks are going to, because I'm just the most brilliant guy alive. I think the Bucks, thank you. John, I didn't hear anything from you, but I'll just take it as implied. But I think the Bucks will easily win by 10 points. I'll go 120, 110. Let's keep it clean.
120, 110. Sounds good. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. This has been a Deep 3 Pod. You guys can find us on Instagram and on Twitter at the Deep 3 Pod. You guys can also email us on any questions, any hate. We accept all hate in most forms at the deep3pod@gmail.com. Thank you guys so much for listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much. Peace.
This is where I shamelessly plug Logan Paul. Logan Paul died.